Hold your horses. Forget for a moment the horned helmets and longships. Today we're venturing beyond the popular myths to uncover the true story of the Vikings. Let's face it, when we think of Vikings, we're instantly transported to a world of fierce warriors, their heads adorned with horned helmets, sailing the rough seas in their iconic longships. But the truth, as it often is, lies beyond these captivating images. You see, the Vikings were more than just raiders and plunderers. They were explorers, traders, and even poets. Their story is far richer and complex than the caricature we often imagine. The Hollywood-style depiction of Vikings as bloodthirsty barbarians is far from the truth. Yes, they were warriors, but they were also farmers, craftsmen, and family men. They established a rich culture, a complex social structure, and a legal system that was ahead of its time. They were not mindless destroyers. They were builders of civilizations, creators of culture. But why does this stereotype persist? Well, it's simple. The image of the horned helmet and the longship is dramatic, it's exciting, and it's easy to remember. But it's far from the complete picture. In fact, there's no historical evidence to suggest Vikings even wore horned helmets. That's a bit of a shocker, isn't it? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real story of the Vikings is steeped in history, riddled with intrigue, and bursting with cultural richness. It's a tale that spans continents, crosses oceans, and leaves a lasting legacy that can still be felt today. So buckle up, folks. We're about to embark on a thrilling voyage, one that takes us beyond the familiar, beyond the cliches, and into the heart of Viking history. We're going to challenge what you think you know, we're going to shatter stereotypes, and we're going to paint a vivid picture of a people who were much more than their popular image suggests. Stay with us as we navigate through time, dispelling myths and revealing the true face of the Vikings. Now picture this. A Viking wasn't just a raider, but also a farmer, a trader, and a pioneer. You see, the term Viking isn't just a one-size-fits-all label for a group of horned helmet marauders. No, it paints a picture far more complex and far more interesting. So, let's delve a bit deeper, shall we? Imagine a typical day in the life of a Viking. You might be surprised to find that it wasn't all about plundering and pillaging. In fact, most Vikings were farmers first and foremost. When they weren't off on their expeditions, they were back home, tending to their fields and livestock, ensuring their families were fed and their communities thrived. But they weren't just limited to farming. Vikings were also skilled traders. They established trade routes stretching from North America to the Middle East, exchanging goods like furs, tusks, and seal fat for precious metals, fine cloth, spices, and much more. Their trading activities were so extensive that they even had an influence on global economics of the time. But there's more to it than just farming and trading. Vikings were also explorers, pioneers of the sea. They sailed to lands unknown, braving the harsh conditions of the open ocean. They reached places like Greenland and even North America, long before Columbus ever did. Let's not forget about their political structure. Vikings lived in a society that was surprisingly democratic for its time. They had assemblies called things, where free men could voice their opinions and settle disputes. And as rulers, they left a profound impact on the regions they conquered, influencing the culture, language, and even the law systems of those lands. So the next time you think of a Viking, remember they were more than just warriors. They were farmers, traders, explorers, and rulers. They were a people who, despite their reputation, contributed significantly to the world in ways that still resonate with us today. They were Vikings. Ever heard of the Viking sagas? They're not just tales of adventure, but valuable historical documents. Welcome to the captivating realm of Viking sagas and myths. These aren't just mere fanciful stories spun by imaginative minds. No, they serve as a remarkable window into the Viking world, a world that was as real as the ground beneath our feet. Delving into the sagas, we find ourselves amidst the Vikings' profound understanding of their environment. These sagas were their compass, guiding them through the uncharted waters of existence. They navigated life and death, honor and disgrace, bravery and fear, all through the lens of their myths and legends. The sagas, rich with tales of gods and heroes, were the tapestry upon which the Viking culture was woven. They breathed life into the Viking values of bravery, loyalty, and honor. Odin, the Allfather, was not just a god, but an embodiment of wisdom and war. Thor, with his mighty hammer, represented strength and protection. These were not mere characters to the Vikings, but ideals to aspire to. These tales also reveal a lot about the Vikings' understanding of the world around them. They believed in a cosmos made up of 9 worlds, all held together by Yggdrasil, the World Tree. This complex cosmology was a reflection of their intricate understanding of nature and existence. But it's not just the grandeur and heroism that make these sagas significant. They also contain elements of everyday life, of farming and feasting, of love and loss. They offer a vivid picture of the Viking society, its norms and its practices. And let's not forget, these sagas were the Vikings' legacy. They were passed down from generation to generation, ingrained in the collective memory of the Viking people. They were not written in stone, but in the hearts of men and women who lived, loved, and died under the Viking banner. So let's not dismiss these sagas as mere folklore or mythology. They are much more than that. They are the soul of the Viking culture, the heartbeat of their existence. These sagas, full of heroes and gods, offer a fascinating glimpse into the Viking mind. Ever wondered how the Vikings influence our world today? You might be surprised. Indeed, the Vikings have left a cultural legacy that permeates our modern world in more ways than you might realize. Let's start with language. Did you know that a number of words we use daily trace their origins back to Old Norse, the Viking language? Words like window, knife, and even they, them, and their are all Viking legacies. And it's not just English that's been Viking touched. Many place names in Scotland, Ireland, and Northern England reflect their Viking heritage too. Moving on to literature, the Vikings have significantly influenced this realm as well. Norse mythology and sagas, with their tales of gods, heroes, and monsters, have inspired countless modern works. From J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings to Marvel's Thor, our popular culture is steeped in Viking lore. In the sphere of technology and trade, the Vikings were no slouches either. Their shipbuilding techniques were revolutionary for their time, enabling them to explore and trade across vast distances. The design of their longships is still admired today for its efficiency and elegance. Many trade routes established by the Vikings continue to be used, shaping economic relationships and fostering cultural exchange. And then there's democracy. While the Vikings didn't exactly invent it, they did practice a form of it. They held assemblies, known as things, where free men could voice their opinions and disputes were settled. These gatherings nurtured a sense of community and shared decision-making, elements we value in our modern democratic societies. So, the Vikings, often remembered for their horned helmets and longships, left us much more than just these iconic images. They gifted us a rich cultural legacy that is woven into the fabric of our language, literature, technology, trade, and even our democratic values. So, next time you use a certain word or enjoy a particular freedom, remember you might just have the Vikings to thank. As we wrap up our journey, let's remember the Vikings for what they truly were: complex, sophisticated, and far from the caricatures we often see. We've voyaged beyond the horned helmets and longships, dispelling the myths and unveiling a civilization of skilled seafarers and traders. We've seen the reality of their raids and rulers, understanding the intricate power dynamics and political strategies that shaped their society. We've sailed the seas of myth and legend, navigating through the rich tapestry of their sagas and folklore. We've found heroes and monsters, gods and mortals, all interwoven in tales that blend the earthly and the divine. We've explored their cultural legacy in the modern world, tracing the Viking influence in everything from language and literature to architecture and art. We've discovered that their spirit lives on, not just in the echoes of their past, but in the vibrancy of present-day cultures around the world. Throughout this journey, we've seen that the Vikings were not just fierce warriors, but also innovative explorers, accomplished craftsmen, and creative storytellers. They left an indelible mark on the world, shaping history and culture in ways that continue to resonate today. Their final voyage may have ended centuries ago, but their legacy sails on, steering us towards new discoveries and deeper understanding. Their story reminds us that history is not a static record, but a dynamic narrative that evolves with each new perspective. They challenge us to look beyond the surface, to question the familiar, to seek the extraordinary in the ordinary. They inspire us to be bold, to be curious, to venture into the unknown. So, as we bid farewell to the world of the Vikings, remember, history is often more intriguing and complex than it first appears. Until our next historical adventure, stay curious,